Tom Brady's coming back. And I don't. When he quote retired, he never said the word retirement. I think everyone kind of looked at him with a side eye and was like, "Are you really done? Are you sure?" What was your reaction when you found out that Tom Brady was coming back to the NFL?
I was like, wow. That took what, all of 5 weeks? Uh, that was a impressive up and down ride, especially for Bucks fans, right? I mean,
Yeah.
wow. They're like, we have no quarterback. Oh, we have Tom Brady again. Oh, good. But for a lot of people, I think that it upset a lot of people out there, though. If you're not, following Tom Brady, if you're a fan of another team, obviously because you're like, why did you put the stuff out there to make it look like you were retiring, and then next thing you know, you're going to come back like a month later. It made no sense. Now, obviously there's a lot of memes out there about, why Tom, oh, he gave it up for Lent. He gave football up for Lent, or gas prices are so high that he has to come back, things like that. So, there's a lot of jokes going around about Tom Brady coming back, but let's be fair. It's good for football. It's good for the NFL. Tom Brady brings in a lot of views. So, wish him nothing but the best. I hope he does well, just not too well.
The roughest memes are when people are like, Tom Brady when Giselle says she wants to hang out for the fourth time in 1 week, and he's like, back to football. I'm like, oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, right.
I will say, if you reread what he said a while back, because it's funny, he put out that Twitter post and Instagram post, like, I'm coming back. He's like, in the last 2 months, I'm like, bro, you've been out of football for like a month. It hasn't even been 2 months that you've left. But what's interesting about it is when he did post, whenever he quote, fake retired or whatever it was, that post saying, thank you to Tampa, I'm leaving, he was very clear to say, I'm not ready to make that competitive commitment right now. And I think him putting that out was only fair to Tampa, actually, because if he wasn't coming back, they needed to make moves to survive without him. So if he hadn't ever come back, because he wasn't sure, and if you're not sure, you got to be transparent about it. So I actually really kind of, with perspective, look back and go, Tom did the right thing by communicating with this team, hey, I'm not sure if I'm coming back. So they could make moves if he didn't. And now he did. They're really happy, obviously. But, it's interesting to see a guy retire when he still clearly can play. It makes sense when you retire and your body can't do it anymore. But I can't imagine sitting at home watching people play football when I was physically not only able to play, but Tom Brady played at such a high level last year, like maybe his best year of his career. Can you imagine sitting at home like he's going to go stir crazy? And I don't think retirement, I've got friends whose grandparents are retired, and some of them are really bored, and the ones that aren't bored are the people who started their own business or are doing something else other than what their career was, because the people that say, I'm going to golf, get real bored after like 2 weeks. They're like, you know what? This retirement thing kind of sucks. I can only golf so much before my brain wants to explode. So I'm curious, actually, if it will not end up being a couple more years before Tom Brady really actually does retire, because is it really that great to be out of the sport you love? I mean, I think he's borderline addicted to what he does. It's real hard to curb an addiction. So I don't. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think there's two types of NFL players, right? There's the player that loves football. They play because of the love of the game. And then, of course, there's the player that's in there. It's a job. It's their paycheck. It's what they do. And those types of players, after they get some money, will retire way earlier than what you expect them to, because, they know what the sport does on their body, right? AKA Andrew Luck, right? AKA, a bunch of other guys that have left earlier than what we thought. Now, obviously, they may still love the game, but, it's also it's their paycheck, and, that is what it is. Now you got guys like Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, guys like that are going to play. You almost expect them to play until they cannot play anymore. Peyton Manning obviously was lucky enough to go out on top, right? Winning a Super Bowl, but you could obviously tell that year he his body was so degraded that he wasn't able to be as effective as he used to be. Same with Drew Brees, just it wasn't there anymore for him. You bring up a good point. Tom Brady was still playing excellent football, right, at the quarterback position for the Buccaneers, and then he just throws out that he wants to retire, and that puzzled a lot of people. I think it was the whole situation of, obviously he loves football, but at the same time, maybe he did take a few shots there, at that last season for the Buccaneers, and it made him think, I'm healthy now. Another year or two could put me in a bad spot. I'm one injury away from having the rest of my life living less, right? Like a bad knee shot or a bad head shot or something. So it's a good possibility that happened. Plus, he's got his family. So there was a lot to think about, a lot to go through. You brought up that great point about, that his announcement wasn't necessarily saying I am definitely retiring. It's more of I can't make that commitment right now. And I didn't think about it like that until you brought it up, and it makes perfect sense. So, yeah, that was definitely a good thing for him to do, just so that he wouldn't put Tampa Bay in a bad situation where, they were all the way up to this point, say, and expecting him to come back or waiting for a response for him to come back and wasn't even looking, for anybody. And then he would retire. That would be an awful situation. So he's always been, no one can say that Tom Brady has never been a team player, right? He's always been that guy who looks out for the team mostly. All those years with the Patriots, he was never one of the top 5 paid quarterbacks in the NFL. He was always looking to help the team out, get weapons, stuff like that for championship runs. The only time he's ever really made really good money is at Tampa Bay. So, and even then he's out there, recruiting guys, right? Yeah. Constantly. Come on in, let's win a championship together.
If he was going to play again, I really did believe he was done with Tampa and going to maybe San Francisco. I was like, because why else say that if you're not done with Tampa? Because he didn't say goodbye to his career. He said goodbye to Tampa. Remember, he didn't mention the Patriots, never said the word retirement. His whole post was about Tampa Bay. And I'm like, oh, he's done with Tampa. But maybe he'll go, live his childhood dream of playing for the 49ers or something. It was interesting he came back to Tampa, but it makes sense because, look at their division. The Carolina's awful. They've got, oh my gosh, the Falcons are terrible. The Saints have no coach, no quarterback. It's honestly what it was when he was with New England, where they've got this division that's full of awful football teams and then his really stacked football team. So he's going to win his division easily. It'll be a cakewalk. And they have a lot of talent coming back. So I want to say I was wrong about that one. I thought he'd go to the 49ers, and I would not be shocked if his career at some point took him there. Although with Trey Lance probably being their guy, it will be pretty hard for that to happen now. I think if there ever was a window for him to go to San Francisco and be that quarterback there, now was the only time that was ever really going to work out. So it looks like he's going to probably finish his career in Tampa. I don't know, man. I really don't understand people who hate Tom Brady. And maybe a better way to put it, if you're a Bills fan or, you're a Colts fan, right? You've seen Tom Brady go head-to-head with Peyton Manning for years and have some painful losses. And when you have a real rivalry against a guy, I understand not loving him. What I really don't understand about Tom Brady is when people don't respect him. It's one thing to I hate playing this guy. He always beats my team. Totally. But when you don't respect Tom Brady and what he's done, I think you just either don't know his story very well or we've got different values because his work ethic, the stuff he puts into the game, his leadership, his family, somehow he's the greatest quarterback of all time and appears to be a really great dad too, which I can't imagine trying to make that all happen. So, and also, man, you and I both, I'm sure, experienced this. When the football season comes to an end right after the Super Bowl, I'm burned out, man. I'm I need a week without football. I need to play video games, get away, go to the beach, just be alone and away from the game. So I'm sure Tom's season came to an end and was I'm tired. I miss my family. I'm tired. I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. And then he had a month to think about it. It was it's going to be pretty hard to watch Tampa Bay play without me this year. And In a weird way for Tampa, I'm sure they're really glad because they were looking at their options. They're like, do we bring back Jameis Winston? Do we trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh, thank God Tom Brady's coming back. It's almost like they have a new appreciation for Tom Brady. And can you imagine if Tom was like, I want to come back, and they're like, we're good, bro. Is there a world where that ever happens? Can you imagine that?
That's an interesting question. The only time anything like that has ever happened, I think, was, when the Colts moved on from Peyton Manning, right? He had that surgery,
Yeah.
and Peyton still wanted to play, right? And he still loved the Indianapolis Colts, but they had the first pick, and Andrew Luck was there. That wasn't a shot, at either team or player, because that was Jim Irsay and Peyton Manning sitting there discussing the situation, and Peyton saying, "You'd be stupid not to draft Andrew Luck. I'll just move on if you don't mind." And Irsay's like, "All right," and that happens. But in general, no. This is not a situation where that would be even plausible, right? I mean, even if they went out and got somebody already, right? I mean, even if they had already went out and got Jameis Winston, or already traded for Garoppolo or something like that. If Tom's like, "Hey, I'd like to come back," they're not going to be like, no, dude, we already got our guy. No, that ain't happening at all.
Can you imagine Jimmy Garoppolo comes back and Brady's like, "Remember when you were my backup? Back to the bench, baby." I gotta say, you brought up this is off topic, but an interesting hypothetical that if the Colts had Peyton Manning hurt his neck and take a year off, and they have the number 1 overall pick, what if you'd had a draft class like this year rather than Andrew Luck? Like if you'd had Matt Corral and Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett available instead of Andrew Luck, I mean, would they have stuck with Peyton Manning? Because they might have, actually. They might have said it. We got 3 more years of Peyton Manning or Kenny Pickett. We're going to go with Peyton Manning.
I mean, you almost would have to, right? Even with the neck surgery, you don't look at that and go, the only reason they went with Andrew Luck was because Andrew Luck was the highest prospect since Peyton Manning, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of go that direction, being that, Peyton was nearing the end of his career at the time. But at that point, no. I think Irsay and Manning would have definitely been on the same page and say, let's run this over again,
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on Tom Brady? Like, do you know, I mean, not that either of us know, but do you have any kind of predictions or anything on like maybe when he will be done? Because I really have no idea. I feel like it's becoming, like with LeBron James for years, people have said he's getting older, he's going to fall off a cliff. And every time I watch LeBron James, he's still really good at basketball. And I've kind of gotten to the point where with LeBron, it makes no sense to count him out. And it's the same with Tom Brady. Like, you can doubt Tom Brady all you want, but until he shows me he's declining, until he shows me he's not interested in football anymore, I'm going to assume he's going to keep playing and playing at a high level. And I don't see an end in sight. Like, it's pretty funny to go back to that clip like from years ago now on First Take where Max Kellerman's like, "Oh, he's going to fall off a cliff." And Tom Brady just literally won another Super Bowl and kept going and going and going. I don't see an end in sight. Do you?
I don't see an end in sight until he himself believes that he doesn't have a shot at another Super Bowl. And that's not even necessarily like what you're saying. That's not necessarily even saying with Tampa. If he runs it back with Tampa this year and they don't make the playoffs, but he feels like it wasn't his fault, and he thinks that maybe another team out there is just a quarterback away, then maybe he would move on and go to that team and continue playing. That's how I see it. Tom, like you said, Tom loves football. And as long as his body can still handle it, he's still producing at a good level, I think that he'll probably continue to keep playing.
Was there any hope in Indy that he would come be the Colts quarterback?
Very, very, very few Colts fans was hoping for that. And that's I'm going to get eaten alive by a lot of Colts fans for this, but I have to be objective, right?
Yep.
Look, had Tom Brady been there, and had we got him instead of Phillip Rivers, we would now have him 3 years in a row. The Indianapolis Colts wouldn't have been through this whole, different quarterback every year for 5, 6, 7 straight years, now, starting at week 1. We wouldn't have went through the Carson Wentz situation. We wouldn't have went through a bunch of stuff. And there's a good chance, because Tom knows how to work an offense
and recruit people.
Yeah, and recruit people that the Colts could have went somewhere. But there's a lot there going on, right? I mean, because of the rivalry for so long. That would be probably one of the biggest storylines in football. Huge storyline. Tom Brady goes to Indy. That would be monstrous. And goes to his rival for all those years. What? After Peyton Manning, his rival left? That would be a monster storyline. And Colts fans, a lot of Colts fans, just they have that inner. You talk about it, it's a strong word, but they really don't like Tom Brady at all. I don't want to use the the hate word, but at some point, some of these Colts fans have that word in mind when they think of Tom Brady. So it could have lost a lot of Colts fans had that had happened, and I think that's one of the reasons why Irsay kind of leaned away from that one.
I can't, I am sad we never got to see that storyline. Tom Brady wearing his rival's uniform would have been incredible.